Many, many men have been just as troubled morally and spiritually as you are right now. Happily, some of them kept records of their troubles. You'll learn from them if you want to. Just as someday, if you have something to offer, someone will learn something from you. It's a beautiful, reciprocal arrangement, and it isn't education, it's history. It's poetry. The Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger.
When I first joined the United States Army, I was 18 and a half. And I knew everything. I mean, how could I not know what I was getting myself into? I knew every single John Wayne war movie by heart, read a bunch of books, seen every single episode of MASH, and I'd even gone to the drive-in to see The Deer Hunter. Twice! Yes, sir, I knew exactly what the Army had in store for me. I was wrong, of course. They trained me as a medical laboratory technician and a medic, and they assigned me to the 8th Combat Support Hospital, a large MASH unit. And oh, the things I was about to see. My second or third day there, they brought in a man. He'd been hit over 20 times in the chest with high-caliber weapons fire. From the neck up and the waist down, he was just fine. But everything in between, somehow he was still alive. But not for long. That very same day, they brought in another man. He'd been hit in the chin when a high-pressure fuel coupling snapped off of the fuel truck he'd been working on. His jawbone and his molars were sticking out of the back of his neck. He lived, if you could consider never moving again from the neck down for the rest of your life to be living. I once saw the rotor blades of a helicopter snap off while the pilot was revving it up for takeoff. One of those blades traveled over 1,000 feet, hit a truck and cut it clean in half, lengthwise, from the front bumper straight through to the back. The poor man standing in front of the truck at the time never had a prayer. They brought 3 men in one afternoon. They'd been next to an artillery shell that had gone off. I had never seen anything like that before. I didn't realize it was humanly possible to be wounded in so many places and in so many different ways at the same time. We fought like hell to save their lives. We failed. While we were treating them, we came to realize that most of their wounds were caused by small pieces of bone. The only thing that remained of the 3 other soldiers that had been standing even closer to the explosion than they had been. I saw an airborne drop. 40 or 50 soldiers jumped out of a C-130. Their parachutes opened just fine, but the 2 of them got all tangled up with each other somehow. They tried to open their chutes, they cut away their chutes. They tried to open their reserves, but they just didn't have enough time. They were dying, and they knew it. That was the morning I realized Hollywood didn't have everything wrong. People falling to their death do scream all the way down to the ground. I saw a man who'd been run over by a tank. Not much to look at, really. Just a smear on the ground. And 1 foot. Still inside of its boot. It was just sitting up on top of one of the tank treads. You know, that boot didn't have a mark on it. Not a scuff, not a scratch. It was just sitting up there, pristine. I never did figure out how that was possible. I would see people broken, bent and shredded and smashed and burned beyond all recognition. And by the time I was 21, the only thing I knew was that I didn't know crap. And there's one thing I still don't know. They say war is hell. I wouldn't know. I've never been to war. Fort Ord, California, September 1982 to March 1985.
Personal. Remember when that drill sergeant yelled at you and got in your face big time? That's personal. Also, when someone sends you a letter, and in these days, a text message or an email, when you have a private conversation with someone, it's personal. Those days when we, as one of many vets, were given a personal message to carry out an assigned task called a mission. It's personal and upfront and gets done using our best ability to comply with the task at hand. Sometimes when a personal message takes you away from others so you can reflect on what it needs doing and how to provide all your expertise to engage in a particular item that needs your attention. You cannot second guess what to do when using live ammo on a range or in the midst of combat. Others depend on you doing the right thing at the right time. It can be real scary when someone doesn't pay attention to what they're supposed to do. The programs available to us as veterans can be considered as a personal message to take action to pursue those programs that will give you a chance to share your life experience so that others with similar experiences won't feel they are the only ones who have lived through harsh times. Those who are returning home from Afghanistan and Iraq have come through some tough experiences that may be too personal to talk about. That is why I try to let those I see in uniform know, as American veterans, we appreciate their service, and all of America also.
Veteran, struggle, service, underappreciated, stabilize, sacrifice, perform, command, disability, dependable, troubled, significant, willing, able, cross-section, neglected, mental illness, troubled, adjustments, spiritual, determined, resourceful, change.
The bells were ringing. The birds were singing. The sea was so blue. To sit there and fish was the thing to do. There was a flash of light. Not even the birds were in flight. Where the sea used to be, now there's rusty quays The ground seems so red. What happened to the animals? Are they dead? But no one asks why. In war, there's no glory.
I am the 60s child. JFK was my leader. He died. The Mets were my lovers. They died. The King was my inspiration. He died. Vietnam was my nemesis. It died. We killed it. We died.
No fear of death, more fearful of life. More pain in living than in death. But what is this thing inside that wants to die while another part just cries? Blood, blood everywhere. Shots, shots no one hears. It all fell on deaf's ears. Eyes that see not the blood on my hands, nor the ears that hear the shots in the air, can see a body at their feet, and to hear a yell would be a feat. But these things I see and hear, am I the only one who fears? Please help me to understand these things I see and hear. But these things in life are the things I fear.
Riff. There are no guarantees. Blank faces look upon me. They don't believe me. There will be no flowers. Ask the crying sergeant around the world. He will tell you. They won't believe me. My country I will serve, the captain says he. Blank faces look upon me. They don't believe me. There will be no flowers. There will be no flowers.
Room. So little room. Can't move. Can't breathe. Yet they say I'm free. Have ears. Not allowed to hear. Yet they say I'm free. Have nose. Not allowed to smell. Yet they say I'm free. Have legs. Not allowed to walk. Yet they say I'm free. Have arms. Not allowed to hug. Yet they say I'm free. Gave a life of freedom, a thankless job. Came home, they called names, no job, go to jail. Gave a life of freedom, a thankless job. Came home, half a person, have to earn rights. Gave a life of freedom, a thankless job. Came home, half a mind, have to earn rights. Gave a life of freedom, a thankless job, would do it again. But for what freedom?
Veteran, don't get into the talk. I'm more veteran than you. We all were of service. We all will be again of service to each other. Protect each other. Protect the lands. We all got to learn how to serve again. I once fought, now I want to build. Build myself and others. Found my way to New Haven, Connecticut. Once again, I'm with veterans. We bond by our special sense of service. Which reminds me, people thank me for my service, and they don't understand service.
You gray-haired eagle fly over the rocks, cover and conceal all the dead Johnny's bodies, make a scheme of maneuver to make a new war, for this one's older and this is a bore. To examine tanks that, with holes that laugh open wide, with stories to tell that assault my inside. Have you nothing else to do but examine wounds of replaceable steel? What about the driver? Wasn't he real? You gray-haired eagle, fly to the objective and pray for another war, for this is a bore and you need an elective. Punch that ticket with Johnny's red guts and his head and his nuts that lay soft in the thicket. You gray-haired eagle, why can't we hear about something other than war stories and beer? The stories are shallow and mostly untrue, and the beer is warm and as bitter as you. I'll stop now, for time does not allow you, gray-haired eagle, just know this one fact, and take it as true. The war is over, and so are you.
Echoes have echoes, like the ripples of a dream. Echoes have echoes. Do you know what I mean? Echoes have echoes, how they thunder and roar. Echoes have echoes, leaving us hollow, ever wanting for more. Echoes by day, echoes by night. Echoes to the left, echoes to the right. Echoes have echoes, they bend us to their will. We numb them to sleep with the needle, bottle, and pill. Echoes to the front, echoes to the rear. The events are long past, but those echoes still near. They rattle around, abusing our brains. They rattle with the sun. They rattle with the rains. Some echoes scream loud. Medic! Oh, those echoes of our life. Some echoes are desperate. God, take me, please, please spare my wife. Some echoes whisper softly, like the wings of a snowy egret. Make room in your bed for your granddaddy, child. Let this be our little secret. Echoes have echoes, how loudly they bark. They shatter our lives when they scream in the dark. Our echoes, we own. We now fight them with might. May they fade into silence, so we may walk in the light.
Time is a flat circle, and I'm doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Or there are multiple universes where I've made the right decisions. As I stand in front of you, I wonder if this is where I really should be. Was I meant to go to war and come back with PTSD? Is this the real me before you, or the same me we've seen over and over again? Did I make the right decisions? Am I really here? In another universe, I would have died in combat. the blood seeping from my wounds into the Iraqi dust, the bloody dust sweeping through the moonlit streets and darkened alleys, across the Middle East on a back of wind, specks of my soul blowing under the heavy sky as my body returns home, wrapped in the belly of a silver bullet. In another universe, I would have made off with my college sweetheart, popping out kids, and live in a middle-class dream with white picket fences and a castle to call my own, instead of wrestling with the insidious monster inside of me, known as PTSD. This eats away at my mind, chewing my aura, biting the insides of my soul. Whereas time a flat circle, and we're all doomed to repeat the same mistakes, suffer the same pratfalls, and die the same way had it fitted them. Sometimes when I'm in the darkest corners of my mind, I feel this might be closer to the truth. I'm happy now, but is this the real me? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this the actual me, or just some dream?
Stigma, prejudice, schizophrenia, arrest, unfair, depression, poverty, mental illness, PTSD.
Stigma, stuck by others, and sometimes I'm stuck by myself. I always end up alone with stigma. Been rejected most of my life, put down, put aside, stigma marginalized me.
Dark clouds are forming overhead, but no one seems to notice but me. Everybody's wearing shorts and going about their business without a care in the world. Shots rang out. Hit the dirt! Someone yelled. Was it me? I don't know. I saw a man laying on the sidewalk, bleeding from the head, no more than 2 steps from me. No one seems to see him. Muhammad, are you all right? As I knelt down beside him, checking his wound. Someone call the medic! This man is hurt! More shots rang out while people walked past me, some telling jokes. What's wrong with you people? Don't you hear the guns? Our car pulled up, and 2 MPs came over to me and asked if I was all right. My friend, he was hit. So one of them got down next to me and checked Muhammad and told me he was dead. Then asked me if I knew where I was. I said, Turkey, somewhere in 1977. Then the medics came, the MPs told him something. I don't know, I passed out. Where am I? Someone please untie me. A doctor came in. He said I hit a nurse when she tried to give me a shot. Where am I? The VA West Haven, 1992. You've been out 2 days.
Coexistence. There exists a desolate world filled with destruction, turmoil, and death. And yet, just beyond its seemingly endless boundaries, exists a world filled with vitality and adventure. 2 extremes inhabit an ecosystem that, at times, barely avoids extinction. Yet, moments later, it thrives on the chaos of its dichotomy. What kind of world would such a creature exist in? Such is the mind and spirit and soul of depression.
Everyone feels lonely.
Everyone feels lonely at times in their lives. Everyone needs someone to give them wisdom or advice. When they feel that they have no one, why do I stand idly by when everyone feels lonely sometimes? I wanna believe there's still goodness in this world when all around me all I see is selfishness. Everyone with full hands passes him who has nothing. I don't wanna be selfish anymore. When everyone feels lonely at times in their lives, everyone has someone to give them wisdom or advice. When they feel that they have no one, I will not stand idly by when everyone feels lonely sometimes. When everyone feels lonely sometimes.
Thanks a lot. Who did I meet along the way? My name is Mo Armstrong. I was born on the Mississippi River, Kikakawa, June 25th, 1944. I was the boy next door who lived out on the prairies and walked by rivers. I've always stayed by rivers all my life, rivers and railroads. Wherever I go, I try to live close to rivers and railroads and listen to the river. I love to hear the river go. I stand by the banks of the river and watch it pass by. I went off to Vietnam. Came out of Vietnam. They once called it shell shock. Today they call it post-traumatic stress. Did it come from doing too much, or working too hard, seeing too much? I don't know, but this is what I do know. These are my songs, and this is my story. Honky-tonk life and honky-tonk songs. First song I ever learned while I was delivering newspapers, Georgia Journal Star, was Jimmy Brown, the newsboy, off WSM Radio, Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, you will hear me yelling, morning star, as I walk along the street. Yeah, I have no hair upon my head, and no shoes upon my feet. I'm awful cold and hungry, sir. My clothes are torn and thin. I wander back from place to place, my daily bread to win. I sell a morning paper, sir. My name is Jimmy Brown. Most everybody knows I am the newsboy of the town. So after the war, I started wandering around. I went a lot of places and did a lot of things, and saw a lot of people, and met a lot of people, talked to a lot of people. Always believed in that life. Always on a search. Wherever I go, I'm trying to keep searching and keep doing stuff and trying to keep learning and trying to keep in the spirit and the shadow of God. I am a pilgrim and a stranger. I'm traveling through this wearisome land. I got a home in the yonder city. Good Lord, it's not made by hand. And I got a mother, sister, and brother who have gone. Yeah, they gone before. And I'm the herb man. You go and see them. Good Lord, on that distant shore. Thank you.
As Mo just said, it was called battle fatigue, shell shock, now PTSD. In the Civil War, they called it soldier's heart. And that's what it is, soldier's heart. Pop? Pop? What the hell am I doing here anyway? I don't want to be here. I need to talk to you, Pop. Dad, or Father. I'm sorry I got you mad at me all the time. Damn, I wanted to be you and not be you. There weren't enough home runs in the world to please you. What the hell is that anyway? Sitting behind that paper that would not die. What was in those newspapers that the rest of us couldn't see? Were we blind? Is the whole world blind? Only Daniel Strayman could get him out of this one. Only that hero of WW2. What'd you do in that fucking war anyway? You never told me. You never fucking told me. Don't use that language in front of your mother. She's not here, Pop. Dad, Father. She's not here. Just you and me. Damn. Fuck, shit, piss. I doubt she cares how I talk. What do you care about? What do you feel? Who did you kill? Did it affect you when I hit those home runs? Did it make you proud when I quit playing ball? Did it embarrass you? Was I a quitter? Why can't I accomplish anything? Complete a task? Love a woman like she wants to be loved? Understand your silence is brooding, always brooding. What happened to you? Is it happening to me? Give me a break. Give me a fucking break. Don't just lie there breathing heavy and sucking up roast beef. I know it's selfish, but you're lucky. You're dying. I gotta go on here. Pretend I'm gonna be somebody. Save the damsel in distress. I don't know how. Just a direction, a signpost. All my life, I cry a lot. You know that? Oh yeah. I cry to myself. I cry in front of my wife. Sometimes I don't even know why. Uncontrollable pain coming from everywhere. Still does. I can't explain it. I can't sleep some nights. Sometimes 2, 3 nights at a time. Drugs just make it worse. I look at myself and I hate what I see. I experience torture. Mine first, and if mine's not there, I take on the world's. Why is that? I know you know. I live in some past I never even experienced. Can you understand that? You gotta. Shit, I'm not sure I understand it because I don't know what it is, but that burns a hole in my head each night and rips my heart out each day. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? 3/4 of the time I walk around like a goddamn zombie, wanting to accomplish things, knowing I have the ability to accomplish things and I can't because something is stopping me. Something in the past I know nothing about. Do you hear me? Do you?
Remember the All-Star game when you...
Yeah, I remember it, Pop. I remember every goddamn detail, but it's over now, forgotten by everybody but us, and I'm stuck there in the past. The present has a flat tire, and I don't have a AAA card. I can't even imagine the future. I'm like him, staring into space, recalling some horror buried so deep it takes two of us to suppress it.
Pull the plug.
The damn trade.
Deal's a deal.
I can't.
Put him out of his misery.
How can I trust you?
What?
You heard me. You said so yourself. If he goes without talking to me, you're history too.
I said that?
Somebody did.
I didn't say that.
Who gives a shit? Get out of here. Out! Let the man die in peace. Let us all just die in peace. I'm glad you lived through the war, Pop. You might not be, but I'm glad. L'chaim.
Adam. Adam!
Huh?
Adam. I have to talk to you.
No. Now. Rest.
No. Now.
What is it?
I have something to say to you.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, talk.
Adam. In the war,
Yeah?
I had this friend.
Yeah. Espy, the Esposito, the hero.
Yeah, Esposito.
So?
I loved him.
I know that.
Nothing left for you.
What if? It has often been asked, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a noise? So I ask, if I scream out in anguish and turmoil and no one notices, do these feelings still exist? If my body shows the ravages of years of self-abuse, but people disregard my cries of desperation, if my misery could be weighed, would there be a scale robust enough to quantify it? Do I have a right to complain? Surely there are people among us whose hardships far surpass my own. I have borne years of futility and weary nights of misery. I long for restful night's sleep. But the night drags on, and I toss till dawn. It is a new day. Will this too end without hope? Would death be easier? Would I rather die than suffer like this? My life seems to flee away without a glimpse of happiness. I grope in the darkness without a light, but I stagger like a drunkard. Like a passing shadow, I quickly disappear. I suffer painfully. My life is full of trouble. I cry, my eyes redden from weeping. What have I done? Darkness is all around me, thick and impenetrable. Yet I am as strong as a mustard seed. I see a sliver of light and am drawn to it. The light illuminates the darkness. A path is forged through the quagmire of filth, dust, and turmoil that has defined my life. It brings a glimmer of understanding. My life, my very existence, has purpose. I may not always know what that purpose is, so I walk through life gingerly, knowing intimately its fragility, looking for opportunities to shed the light of my existence into the paths of other people's lives. So I ask, if I never grasped onto life over the perils of death, would the world notice my absence?
I came in battered, bruised and broken, into a room where the candles were glowing. For though a warrior's life I had once chosen, with its darkness and shadows and pains unspoken, I entered here with a heart wide open. And later, there, finally back on the ground, even as the tears swept down, had I finally found peace? Could it be? Could life and death for once agree? After all I've done or not done, after all that I've seen, surely those others will know what I mean. But yes, I closed my eyes, and at last I could see two beaming faces smiling down at me as though from distant golden galaxies. The first, the life that I once held while dying. The other, my child, who I used to cradle while crying. And at once I could grasp the message in hand, all that I must have been needing to understand, that there's no more need for grief, for guilt, or for shame. In that case, for all which for me still remains, for all that was lost on those distant sands, yes, the time it is now. And the answer? Just breathe.
Recovery. Steps in feeling better. From the worst condition to the better position. Understanding that others are with me and I'm with others. In the same condition. Try to keep smiling when I'm not happy. I want to be happier.
There's nothing like coming home after a wartime tour. Sometimes it's beautiful, yet others have a tragic edge. Didn't seem that way for us. In 2006, 371 lucky soldiers, myself included, from the Alaskan Striker Brigade, touched down upon the ground in Fairbanks. We were greeted by cold, subarctic weather, but after the simmering desert heat of northern Iraq, it was a welcome treat. We were home. The battalion I hailed from hadn't lost a soul over the past year. We'd plenty of wounded, but nary a single soldier had been killed. Enterprising souls had placed beer and liquor on our beds to welcome us home. I ended up with Killian's Irish Red, a beer I loathed. And instead of drinking myself into oblivion at such an early hour, I settled in for a long summer's nap. Other men didn't relax. By noon, one man was dancing upon the Chili's bar. He followed this antic up by punching another soldier in the face. Luckily, the cops let it slide. It was a mournful sign of things to come. The following day, awful rumors spread through the barracks, unit, fort, and city itself that our unit had been extended. Even the 24-hour news stations had picked up the story. It couldn't be true. We were home. Home. How could anything like this be possible, I thought. Fuck that. I'm not going back, I said, quickly regretting the words as they spilled from my mouth. Across the ocean in the Middle East, men and women had packed their gear, weapons, and even vehicles into storage. And they were lined up thinking they'd be given the plane rides out of the desert heat. The news hit them first. Unpack your shit. You're headed south to Baghdad for another 4 months. But for those of us in Alaska, life was limbo. Generals, politicians, and civilians alike pondered our fate. On one hand, you're the best unit there is. You're going back to save Baghdad. And on the other, we don't know what's going to happen to you. You're already here. For 3 weeks, the 371 of us lingered in the unknown. Rage, spite, and bitterness started wrapping itself around my soul. And it didn't take long for an explosion. I became a walking IED. On the third night home, I'd been flirting with a local girl and watched an argument spiral dangerously out of control across the small parking lot. It took seconds to realize it was our men. Pushes, punches, and kicks felled a pair of obnoxious locals, spoiling for a fight. Regardless of who was at fault, they called one of our men, well, it's hard for me to say this, but a nigger. And that was enough. From there, the fight exploded, with a smattering of clubbings, broken bones, and TBIs. Live or die, I didn't give a fuck. I was probably headed back to Iraq. The following 3 weeks were a blur of women, booze, and painkillers. Most of the 371 returned to combat. Many were shattered below the surface, including myself. Thousands remained in Iraq while this occurred, and soon we were reunited in sun-drenched Baghdad. Our boots touched down upon the dusty airfield in Iraq with unseen wounds, despair, and a strange sense of brotherhood. If we were going to be fucked, we'd be fucked together. It took me years to heal, in some ways I still am. It was an unkind joke. When I tell this story, I cannot convey the horror of having our lives ripped out from under us. To me, there was no escape, no hope, and I figured it was the end, our own suicide mission. Those 4 months cost lives. The unit lost its only man, Alexander Jordan, a brother, a man who should have been home in a just world. This story is dedicated to him and all the men we lost those final months. You're not forgotten, at least among us, the unlucky 371.
Connection. All our lives we are connected to something, other people, places, things. Most of the times we are connected to being alive and doing our best to muddle through another day and keep a close connection to those we know and deal with. That second connection with the military on a daily basis gave us instructions to go by, a schedule planned out on a week-by-week standard. Those things we observe and imagine connect us with what we see happening and imagine some situation to improve with connection to those who can help us. There is always a chance that someone will come to you asking your input for a situation that that person needs to find a solution to. The connection we as a nation have with our troops away from home gives us a certain bond that helps us understand them, that they are not forgotten and are appreciated of their service. When a former veteran thanks another veteran for their service, it becomes a connection that needs to be continually administered. When all our troops are home from Afghanistan this year, there will certainly be a connection in our hearts that says we are glad they are home, safe and sound. Our connection to each other as former veterans is a bond of brotherhood that spans all times for all veterans. We should never forget those who serve us each day, the police, ETMs, firefighters, and those who help their friends and neighbors and relatives in their hour of need.
Wonderful. It could be a wonderful life if one does live by the right universal spirit. I need to learn to incorporate this more consistently, as I have fallen many times with some toxic attitudes. However, each day avails more opportunities to improve one's life. Marry. It is wise to seek merriment in all seasons. Proverbs states that a cheerful heart doeth good medicine. Positive vibes are contagious, as are its counterparts. I seek to look at life in a more merry, cheerful manner.
Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different. Put your hands together like this. In a corner in a deep dark place, I was feeling all alone in a terrible place. It doesn't really matter what they think of me. My diagnosis is not me. I can be what I want to be. It used to be a canyon that I see between me and recovery. But with work and help today, I'm steady moving along the way. Today is a new day and my future is bright. Not much darkness, walk toward the light. I'm getting closer to a better me. My diagnosis is not me. I can be what I want to be. My diagnosis is not me. I can be what I want to be. My diagnosis is not me. I'll shout the victory.
Support. There is much to say about support. That which serves as a brace can support the up and coming of a building or even a gazebo. When there are people involved in a method of support, much is done to do good things toward another who needs support by doing for those who cannot do for themselves. I think of veterans both in and out of the service of our great nation. In turn, we can give our support by giving up unused cell phones, send funds to the USO, donate help, and funds to the Wounded Warrior Project, volunteer at the VA, and offer support verbally while attending groups the CRP. I know a big support those who are in Trade Steps program receive. We also receive support from the many health clinics at West Haven VA and guidance from sources we don't think of. And there is a stand down in September every year whereby many support teams are able to sort out the questions vets attending could have. Personally, I like to show my support to those vets returning from Afghanistan and Iran, but also to the police standing on the corner, EMTs who get vets to the VA hospital in an emergency, and the people who drive the care cars getting vets to the VA every day.
Many, many men have been just as troubled morally and spiritually as you are right now. Happily, some of them kept records of their troubles. You'll learn from them if you want to. Just as someday, if you have something to offer, someone will learn something from you. It's a beautiful, reciprocal arrangement, and it isn't education, it's history. It's poetry. The Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger.